Welcome to this episode. Dear Nigerians, you're Black too. Wouldn't you want to know what we're talking about? In this episode, I speak with Peace Udechukwu-Ezeka, and we delve into the nuances of the relationship between Nigerians from Nigeria, Nigerian Americans, and African Americans. Now, you hear the name Udechukwu-Ezeka, and obviously that is a Nigerian name of the Igbo culture. But there's a whole lot more to Peace than just her name and what you expect of her culture. In her life story, Peace has had a blend of African American culture in the US and, of course, Igbo culture coming from Nigeria. It has shaped her passions and it shapes the things that she advocates for, and she's a great person to have this conversation with. Tune in for our conversation. Hey, Peace, how are you?
Hello, hello.
Thanks for joining this
we're
call.
live.
Yes, we are live. But thank you for joining this call. I want to first of all just appreciate your willingness
Thank
to
you.
be a part of this topic. It's not an easy one, but it's a real conversation as it relates to folks of a Nigerian influenced identity. So first, I like to start with an icebreaker as it
Okay.
relates to the
All
topic.
right.
Okay, so for this icebreaker, we are
Okay.
going to be in what we'll call a culture clash court. Okay, so you and I are going to be guest judges, and we are going to be taking certain Nigerian behaviors and even African American behaviors on trial. This is just for fun, but in a lighthearted and
Got
funny
it.
way.
Got it.
We take those behaviors and we say, okay, guilty, this one needs to go, or not guilty. We're keeping it and we're proud of it. Okay, here we go. Here's the first behavior. All right, side-eyeing someone for not greeting you properly. In this culture clash court. Is that ridiculous? Yes.
Absolutely guilty. Got to go.
To go. Because you don't know where people are coming from each day, right? You can't be side-eyeing them just because
Exactly.
you didn't. Yes. You don't know what's happening in the morning.
Absolutely. Sometimes people are literally in like a zone that they're not necessarily present to everyone. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? You think they're present, but they're literally not present. They probably literally didn't see you.
Exactly.
Or there's another aspect of that can also be, there's another that can also be like there's beef between the both of them. So you guys haven't addressed the beef and you just want to not greet each other, but someone is waiting for the other person. Somebody has to do it. Someone has to break that beef.
Oh, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
That is real. All right.
So guilty.
Yes.
Guilty.
Guilty's gotta go. All right. Next behavior. Thinking therapy is for people who don't pray enough.
These are good ones. Oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, it's definitely leaning towards guilty, and it is definitely one of those things that requires some deep talk.
Yeah. Hopefully we get through this
Requires some deep talk.
conversation. Hopefully we get through this conversation. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Being late to events because, well, vibes. That's just how we're feeling. We're going to be late
Just
to
because that is completely guilty. And I can tell a whole story about that because, I'm like a very on time person.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
from being in different African nations and, our people. And it's just this is just African time, or this is black, black folks time.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, where does that come from? And we're not respecting each other's time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got to really think about what we're doing when we do that. You know what I mean? And yeah, there's a lot around that, but it's definitely guilty because we don't have a lot of time to waste. And in fact, I think where we're at right now in this conversation, we don't have that time to waste. We need to get united ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I challenge you though? Because for me, okay, I'm not gonna be late to anything that's important. But for a party or something,
Yes.
I feel like if you say 7, I could do a 7:30 because it's not it's more. It is vibes. It's a looser air. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
So I think I'm both sides, guilty, not guilty.
Absolutely. So it'll be, situational. I do agree, right? And so that's where that's the only thing where we know, okay, this is the uniting in our minds, right? We know, okay, for parties or whatever, we set the standard that's what we want. We know that even if you're sending out an invitation, the person who is throwing the party or the event, right? They probably put that room in there because that's what I started doing. You just have to put that room in there of a grace period, right? Or just a networking hour, you know what I mean, where it's just open, it's fluid when people are arriving. But if it's something that's like, it's like
Yes.
a start and stop time, and then people don't show up till like, whole hour, almost maybe 2 hours later, that's a problem. So
Yeah.
I think it's the
Yes.
distinguishment
That
in our
one's a problem.
mind when we're looking at someone else's time and what they have set, what the standard that they put in terms of the time, to
Yeah.
respect that time.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
there's a reason why they put that time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Next one.
Mhm.
All right. It's your cousin's graduation, and they have called your cousin's name, and you yell, "Yes!" Guilty or not guilty? Guilty is we don't want to keep that. Not guilty is we're keeping that.
For me, I feel like we can keep it, right?
Yeah, me too.
I feel
Keep
like
this one. Celebrate that graduation.
It's an expression,
It's an
just an
expression.
expression. And literally the other day, I saw a video of an African woman. Her son was graduating, and the
Yeah.
way this lady came down, how she was celebrating her son,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you keep
the
that.
whole crowd was like on fire, but she came celebrating her son, like,
Yeah.
the way she was dancing and vibrating, and just, that's just how we do it. That's us.
That's how it is. Yes. Yeah. So I say not guilty.
So
I
we
say
don't
not
keep
guilty
it.
on
We
that
don't
one.
keep it.
All right.
Yeah, not
This is
guilty.
the very last one.
Yeah.
Insisting on the highest level of education.
Okay.
Always.
Absolutely keep it. Keep
Yeah.
it. But I do think it needs to be redirected. Right?
Nuances.
And what is that highest education?
If it always has to be a doctor, we're having some issues. If it always has to be that, in my opinion, there are nuances.
Exactly. I mean, we have to look at it in reality, right? The Bible talks 2 witnesses, but
Yeah.
science talks like, thousands of people in terms of an agreement about something.
Yeah.
So if you ask many people, what are the top careers? Engineer, lawyer, doctor. You know what I mean? That's just the thing that we aspire to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just in African cultures, it's also in, Indian cultures too.
Asian,
Other cultures,
yeah.
they have those topics, which, which is understandable because it is the highest sort of paying jobs, right? So that's why you want to put your kids. But we need to redirect that just a little bit to understand that the highest goal is actually love. To obtain love.
Good.
And what is love? Love is God. So we got to be connected to the kingdom. That is the highest goal.
Yeah.
Not all of these things.
Yeah.
Everything else is going to come from that, where you now get the different expressions in the different spheres of influence, where God is, shining, and they're making that money like we want. Getting all of it, because everything is God's. We get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And truly,
Yeah.
not everyone is called to fit those 3 boxes, and that's just facts.
Exactly. So
Not
it's just a
everyone is called to that.
reorientation of our mind. Yeah. Renewing it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was our culture clash court. Thank you very much, Peace. You are an amazing judge. So let's get to the conversation. I want to just kind of lay the table a little bit, right? Because this episode, I called it "Dear Nigerians, You're Black Too," and even that sentence could be problematic, right? But I want to just kind of lay the groundwork in the sense of not defining Black as an identity, but really trying to define the fact that there needs to be unity amongst Nigerians, especially, and the Black skinned people we meet in the places we go to, because a huge part of being Nigerian is the diaspora aspect. Let's be honest about that, right? So that's what this conversation is about. And you are a person whose life story has uniquely positioned you to speak to this. So I want to start with just your name. Your name is Peace Udechukwu-Ezeka. That is an Igbo name, Allah, right? But there's more to you than meets the eye. Right. So I want you to actually just tell us a little bit about your background and even the key things that framed your identity as you see it now.
Yes, my name is Peace. And I'm going to actually add my middle Igbo name too with that. So,
Yeah.
so it's Peace Udechukwu-Ezeka.
Yeah.
And so I know Udechukwu and Udechukwu sounds the same. So peace, everybody knows what peace is. Peace is shalom, right? That's shalom. Udechukwu is mind of God. Chukwu is the fame of God.
Wow.
Ezeka is the king is greater. So that's my name. And so I say that because this is some of the things, like when I talk to students too, like, what's the meaning of your name? Any kingdom person knows that our names have importance, like it's speaking something.
Yeah.
So that's my name. That's me. So my journey, and I want to start from my present, right? I would say my present first is where I'm at is I'm peace. And so I have peace as an acronym. Peace is passionate, empower of African and African American communities towards excellence. So passionate, empathic, empower of African and African American communities towards excellence. And I'm here, my mission and what what I want to live the rest of my life doing is to cultivate kingdom thinkers.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, how did I arrive here? I was born in San Diego, and both of my parents are Nigerian. They came and migrated from Nigeria. Of course, the whole Igbo Civil War and everything that was happening in Igbo land. So many people were being given amnesty to come into America. So they were able to come in through that means. So I was the first to be born here in America, in San Diego. And my three older siblings were born in Nigeria. So I have 6 sisters. I have 6 sisters. So 3 of them were born in Nigeria. Yes. 3 were born in Nigeria. And then it's me and my 3 younger siblings.
Yeah.
So there's 7 of us total. I want to say my siblings' names because, again, this is part of my story. So I have 6 sisters, and their names are Mercy, Grace, Love, Joy, Faith, Patience, and Peace.
Wow.
So,
I feel like your
so
parents were
that's
aiming for something with all of those names.
I don't know. All I can say is a God story. It's
Yeah.
just that's all it is. So yeah, so I was the first to be born here. My 3 younger siblings, I was brought up here, this culture. There was a period of my life where I got separated from, my parents. And then during that time, my siblings and I also were, separated. It was a period of about maybe 2.5 years or so. So during that time, I just remember becoming very rebellious. I just became a rebellious child, but because I was confused, I was like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? I remember going to the altar, at church and praying and just like confused, like, what is happening? You know what I mean? So
It's okay, peace. Take
I
your
was
time.
not expecting that.
Take your time. Take your time.
Whew. I was not expecting
It's totally fine. Take your time. This is real.
that. Okay. But, I just remember that. But anyways, during that period is like I just remember becoming this rebellious person. Like I was like stealing. I was stealing from the people that I lived with to just, buy stuff at the store or whatever, like,
Yeah.
it's like $1. But I just remember being in you would call it a gang. You know what I mean? It was like a group of
Sure.
just different people. I don't know if there was any other girl in the group, if it was just all guys, but
Sure.
I was just like, you know, these days I'm like, no, I'm a gangster for God. Cause that's
Right.
how I looked at it. Like that probably was a little gang.
Yeah.
I like we were a little gang. Like we would go and devise plans to take money from the vendors, that are on the street.
Yeah.
I
And
think
this
it was
is
like
in
some I
San
don't know what he was
Diego?
selling in his cart. And this is in San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah. We would devise a plan to go try to steal the money. We would go into the grocery stores and like steal so much stuff and sell it at school. So anyways, that was happening during that time, right? But, I would say what happened that changed the trajectory of that, me really going deep into that is the family that I was staying with, right? So, I always thank God for the family that he put all of us in. Each and
Yeah.
every one of us had different experience in the places that we went to. And, but I thank God for the experience I had on many different levels. One, I was going to school one day and my uncle comes driving on the side of me, like get in the car. He just basically confronts me like, I know you're stealing, and just had a talk with me that day. And that just, it's almost like that. It just went away. It just went away. I stopped doing that. Like I just started really becoming, a different person, like really settling into, the new environment and finding my way. And so that was a significant part of, my development. So, and then transitioning back to go live, with my parents. And then that's when I was in Los Angeles. We moved to Los Angeles.
Got it. Okay.
And so in LA, and that was like around sixth grade. That's when I was in LA and in a new school and um, starting that journey. There's so much in the story that all I can really want to just to like hand it down on is like I have an experience of both African and African American,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
this concept of African and African American. Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so seeing both sides, like of, culturally, maybe in the home, these are some
Yeah.
standards. This is how we see things. And then in the African American culture, this is how we do things. This is how we see things, kind of blending both of those sides together
Yeah.
and coming to this point. So there's so much to discuss like on that. But I feel like
Yeah.
I also really understand some of the things that a lot of African Americans are going through
Yeah.
based on my experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if this is the best way to say it. I feel like you were straddling both worlds, which is like, coming having a family history of the diaspora migration from Nigeria, right? And having that. And then being born in San Diego, spending your earlier years in LA. I think it's unique though, because if I look at my own story moving from Nigeria to the US, we were here with my parents, and then my parents got really deep into a Nigerian church in the Chicago area, and then it's like a Nigerian society. Maybe I went to school and interacted with American kids, but like social life, everything was really like in within Nigerian society. But like for you, it was a blend of everything, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that sort of that church, sort of that church,
Yeah.
I would say connection, like the individuals who came during the amnesty, they all kind of, stuck together. So we
Yeah.
had, a community of people that where we were close to, you know what I mean? So even the
Yeah.
family I stayed with was people that I knew, from that sort of family in that church. Yeah.
So just like a direct question about identity as you're growing up, like were you the person that was like, I'm an Igbo girl or I'm African American, or like how did that form?
Great question. Okay, so, usually when I start off, I always tell people, I was Jamaican before I was Nigerian. Okay.
Tell
And
talk to us
that is
about that. What does
because
that mean?
I think, okay, so what it meant was for me, when it came to like music, I love to dance. I'm a beat person. I said I'm a beat person before I'm a word person.
Interesting.
So, but now I'm a word person before a beat person. So it's kind of switched. So basically I was a beat person. So I just felt like the Jamaican music just
It just
like, I
flowed
just felt
with
like
you
that was
better.
me. Like,
Yeah.
like it just flowed with me better. Like it just flowed with me better. Like I just felt these are my people. Like, these are my people. Like there's just something. Yeah. And even
Yeah.
when I went to Jamaica, I remember the first time I went to Jamaica, that's exactly how I felt. Like, oh my gosh, like these are my people. And
Yeah.
then um to find out historically they are my people.
Interesting.
Historically they are my people. Yes,
Right.
historically they are my people.
Right.
Um yeah, so that's why I say I was Jamaican. But then when I visited Nigeria for the very first time, which was in my 20s,
Yeah.
and this was a time where I literally had the desire, like, I want to go, so I was like, we have to go. So three of my sisters, and my mom, end up going, right? And we funded ourselves. Like, we gonna go, we gonna fund this and we gonna go.
Yeah.
So we went and that completely changed everything, like you know, I saw my Igbo side. And I think part of it too was before the actual Nigerian trip, there was an organization called Nigerian Reunions. And so we got involved in these Nigerian reunions and they had one in LA. And I remember going there and like, oh my God, look at all these Nigerians, you know? And it was just like, it just blew me because I think it was the first time a bunch of Nigerians were in one place, and the vibe was just like amazing, And so we started even traveling to the different Nigerian reunions. They had one in Texas. They had one
Got
in
it.
Las Vegas. And I've met a lot of people that I'm still connected to today, even in Chicago,
Yeah,
connected
that's
to
nice.
that Nigerian reunion. Yeah. And so that's what really pushed me too. Like, okay. And then going to the continent was like, that just really flipped to really understand, like, what? It just, it was with my mind, like, it was kind of like, like,
Yeah.
no, we are the kings and queens. What? Look at the, what? I've been lied to. I've been lied to. It's a doozy.
Yeah. Tell me more. Tell me more. We
It's a
said you've been
doozy.
lied to. This is your 20s, Nigeria for your first time, right? So, like, how did that change
Hmm.
things? Like, when you say you've been lied to, like, what exactly? What was exactly was the lie, and what was your presence in Nigeria opening your heart to?
So lies like my, my skin, right?
Yeah.
My skin color, like, because I was dark. Like, I feel like when I come to, since I've been in Chicago, I've gotten lighter, but in the summertime, I get really dark, like,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
sun does
and
its thing.
people just like, yeah, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm embracing it now since then, right? It's like, no, this is who I am, right? This is just, part of who I am. So, that was one of the aspects, and just understanding the beauty, like, of the land, the potential of the land, like the history, of our people, and the it just, everything was like connecting,
Yeah.
from understanding the time of Feed America. They had the whole campaign on Feed America where they're showing these images of African people who are starved, looking like they're about to die. And like, those were like my people. There was always a campaign because the war was happening in,
Yeah. Yeah.
was happening. So when they're showing these images, it's like, it's our people. Like, you know what I mean? It's, it's my people.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then to connect it to the history of the Biafra War, connected to, the history of, all the wars that happened even in Africa, not just,
Yeah. Not just
in
Nigeria.
Nigeria. So it just connected so many, aspects, and I just had this identity, like, okay, this is my people. Like, it's, because I feel like I had a split, it was a split identity. Or even, when some Africans, they want to tell you that you're not Nigerian,
You're
or
not Nigerian
you're
enough.
Akata.
Mm-hmm.
you know, it comes off as very derogatory, right? It almost seems like, why would you say that? And that's the same thing that when we say it, when African Americans is hearing us saying it, they also hear it as derogatory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We should talk about that because you've kind of gotten into a place that is very interesting. I think I would love to have like some really literal conversations about that, right? Naming the divide, right? Now, you've lived a life where you were immersed in African American culture, you were immersed in what it is to be Nigerian and someone with Igbo identity. Like, how would you describe, just based on your own experiences, how would you describe the way historically people of Nigerian influence identity have perceived African American?
I had to ask I had to ask Harmony Guide to assist me.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
so who's
worries, no
Harmony
worries.
Guide? Harmony Guide is just my AI assistant.
That's totally fine.
She's m
Yeah, and
she's
you
my
can
AI
speak from your
assistant,
lens too. It's totally
and
fine.
absolutely, no, that's why I want to be able to get the key points, and then I'm gonna
Sure,
add from my lens, so that it
sure,
goes very quickly, yeah.
sure.
But I thought it was such I thought it was such a profound question, and this is what, Harmony Guy said. She said, "This is a deep and layered question," so I just want you to know that.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
That's what Harmony Guide said, okay? So I'm gonna go through really quickly, and the question I asked was, what would you say is the mindset of Africans towards African Americans, and what is the mindset of African Americans towards Africans?
I
And
love
that's
this.
what
Let's
I
go.
asked Harmony Guide. And
Let's go. What did Harmony say?
all right. And she was on point. I just wanted to let you guys know. All right. So, mindsets of Africans towards African Americans. Curiosity and admiration is the title. Many Africans admire African Americans for their creativity, influence in music, sports, fashion, and activism, hip hop, gospel, jazz, and R&B. For example, they are celebrated and this is what's celebrated on the continent. There's respect for African Americans, that African Americans have shaped global culture despite historical oppression. I agree. I agree with that. That, this is the highest positive way in which, I do believe that they are admired and seen globally across, because they're trendsetters. Like, we
Yeah.
are trendsetters,
Yeah.
especially if we get united, right? We see what's happening in the continent now in terms of music and dance. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. Yeah.
trendsetters. That's who we are, plain and simple. And we need to galvanize that.
Yeah.
We are the ones that are creating that. Okay. So, two, perception of privilege. Some
This is
Africans
interesting.
assume African Americans have easier access to wealth, education, and opportunity in America compared to conditions on the continent.
Sure.
This can create a mix of admiration and frustration when African Americans are perceived as not valuing those opportunities. I agree. I agree with this in terms of what I have been hearing, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the conversations that you would hear around, different people at different times. You know what I mean? This is a conversation that is definitely happening. And so now, is it true? That's where we have to get a little bit deeper into the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because there's a lot of things loaded, into that.
Yeah.
Um, So, and you'll be able to see both sides, right? So, three, stereotypes of misinformation. Unfortunately, Hollywood movies, media portrayals, and U.S. news reports sometimes shape African views, leading to stereotypes about African Americans as violent, lazy, or disconnected from family values. These stereotypes are often absorbed without context. And these are the things that go back to the previous one, right? There's a lot, and that's kind of why there's a lot of
Yeah.
stereotypes, because that happens. That's my, that's how I looked at myself, right?
Yeah.
Before I found that, okay, I am Nigerian. Like, there is this beautiful side of who I am. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I saw myself as small. I saw myself, and still today, it just still something there, but I'm trying to break free,
Still trying to,
you know?
yeah.
I'm trying to break free from that. But there is that aspect of you feeling, you're not, there's just something hanging there, like you're not good enough,
Yeah.
or your skin is ugly, or, this is bad about you, you know what I mean? Which goes back to the poem that I shared with you, right?
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
is a color and not a race.
Yeah.
Right, where they had this
Yeah.
a whole experiment with the dolls with children, and you're asking the children
Yeah.
which one is good, and they're always going to the white. Which one
To the
is
white
bad?
one.
White. Which one is ugly? Black. Like, you know what I
It's
mean?
so painful to
What?
watch those
So,
things. It's so painful
and I
to
wonder if
watch
that
those
experiment
things.
is still happening till today, and people are still saying that. I wonder. I really do.
Yeah.
So that's those things we need to break down, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
how some of these stuff has portrayed it, because
Yeah.
media, news, all those things are powerful tools that
Yeah.
affect the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really
Absolutely.
affect the mind and have us being programmed. So, four, disconnect and questioning identity. Some Africans may see African Americans as lost in terms of heritage, disconnected from language, traditional values, or ancestral land. There can be questions like, why don't they know where they come from? Which can come off as judgmental rather than empathic.
Yeah.
So, for this one, I wouldn't say I've heard that, but I feel like that is a definite undertone.
Number four for me is an interesting one. And I think, oh man, this conversation is so loaded, right?
I think this is an area where Africans, and I don't want to say Africans just because I don't know I can speak for all Africans, but definitely Nigerians. I think that mindset comes from a place of, quite honestly, not understanding a responsibility we have when a lot of us move from Nigeria to the US. What I tend to see is that we come and we're trying to make it in the countries we move to without doing the work of learning the history of the other Black skinned people that are in the countries that we land you know and I think that's probably something that I take for granted because growing up here, you have social studies classes that talk to you about African American history, and then in college I took some time. Like, I wasn't studying African American history, I was studying economics, but I used a lot of my electives on African American
Mm,
classes. And what a lot of Nigerians are not aware of is the deliberate systematic breakdown and disconnection of Africans and Nigerian slaves from their identity, their names, their tradition. There's no way you can actually hold on to that. I mean, and it's also sometimes it's a little hypocritical too. Again, this is a perspective I've had towards Nigerians who have that mindset. It's a little hypocritical too because even in our own families, we're seeing it. There are Nigerian families who decided not to teach their children their languages, and their children don't know, right? So it's
And
like,
yet they're holding them to try to hold them to the standard of it, but you didn't even teach it.
exactly. Right? So it's like, and that's just one generation. It's not 400 years. So I definitely agree with Lady Harmony here, right? Telling us like this is a mindset, but it's actually a mindset that just because again, I have the privilege of having taken the classes and doing the work, but it's for me, I think it's a responsibility that a lot of Nigerians don't realize they have. Yeah, that's just my perspective. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to add to that. Absolutely. Like, and I didn't even deduce that. But when you were talking, two things came up. One was it took me back to grad school. So I can say there's an aspect of myself that was also guilty of having the mindset. Maybe this some of this stuff, right? But when I went to grad school, I uprooted myself from Los Angeles, California, to go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is where I got my master's in mental health clinical counseling. That whole mindset got demolished because as I was reading these books and seeing all of these things that lead to mental health issues, it was like, wait, y'all telling me all these things are in this book? All of these things cause mental health issues. So how are we really helping African Americans? Because this sounds like 90%. It sounds like
Yeah.
90% of the people.
Yeah. What type of things? What type of things?
Oh, very good question. So all the traumas, all the drug addictions, and how, those are formed, all the mental health disorders and how they are caused, right? It's so loaded in terms of like the systemic, the strategic things that are actually happening in people's lives and how they come out in this way. The programming of the mind, the fragmentation of the mind based on these different traumas, right? And so it
Sure. Can we key into that?
mhm,
Presentation of them.
mhm, yes.
Very powerful phrase, right? Like the
Mhm,
my head is like a very beautiful piece of china, but it's cracked
mhm,
pieces. Like put
yeah,
a piece of china together, people like, oh wow, China's beautiful. Then think of china cracked in pieces. You have
exactly,
these fragmented, beautiful parts, but they can't find
exactly,
connectors to the
exactly,
beautiful whole,
exactly.
right? And
Ooh, I love that, yeah. I love how you
yeah, so it's like that's something that's systematically happened within the US and even other nations,
mhm,
right? And has impacted um,
yeah,
the life African Americans have had, at least here in the US.
yeah,
And I think
exactly,
that's something that if you don't take the time to study it like you have, and a lot of Nigerians don't, not because
yeah,
no, they have not because they're bad people, it's just maybe
yeah,
life doesn't force them to do that.
absolutely,
So the
absolutely,
perspective of, oh, they're lost, they don't have a culture, have their language, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So so that was a significant time. And just to the latter part of what you just said is during 2020, right? When for me, that really became visible. Like, it's just a level of ignorance, you know what I mean? That is in the community because when George Floyd was happening and, I have a strong, Nigerian presence and community and to not see, not to not feel the same pain, you know what I mean? It just showed the disconnect, but at the same time, I also saw like this aspect of wanting to know at this point because for me, because I am the advocate, in
Yeah,
my community.
yeah,
That's why they know me as advocate of African Americans, like bridging the gap between us, us coming together, understanding, I have a whole desire for just the unity, like unity as a new normal, with for us. It's a whole entire movement. Yeah.
when you talked about George Floyd and you saw two things. You saw on one side not a lot of, quite frankly, support from Nigerians. Is that
Mhm.
yeah, and then on the other side, a desire to know more. First of all, the first part, what
Mhm.
did that look like? The not a lot of support from Nigerians. Like, what did that look like? What was disappointing to you, if there anything, you know?
Mhm. I would say what's disappointing is there is something about you standing in solidarity, right, with other people, and it goes back to that united mind. Like, why are we uniting? So, for me, it's just because you hear all these conversations of what we just talked about in terms of the first half, right? How Africans see African Americans, and you're hearing, all of these trigger, words around. Even recently someone came, I think we were like in a prayer and it was like those people. And I remember hearing it, and I remember, someone correcting, like saying something to help to correct the mindset in the space. And without me having to say anything. So I'm like, wow, this is beautiful because, I definitely would have wanted to have said something, right? But I'm glad, she was able to even say what she said. But then even the next day, somebody caught it. And because they know that, I'm like sort of that bridge. They were able to, share with me like, oh my God, this is what this person said. Da, 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 da. And so what I encouraged, that person to do was like, you should tell her, please go and let her know that this was felt offensive. You know, go let her know that this is offensive because it's one thing for someone else to say it, but it's another thing for, you to say it so they can really get it. Like, you have to break the stereotype. I know it's hard, but you have to break it. You got to break it in your mind. Like you're the only one that can do the work. And I think the more we can get bold and more about that too, right? Having these conversations, the more that we'll be able to break those. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My gosh. And then on the other side where you saw, okay, interest in learning more, what did that
Hmm. Oh, so the interest in learning more was, yeah, during that George Floyd time. And because I was, that was such a significant that 2020 and that George Floyd just took me to another level, you know. I discovered that I had the gift of mercy, you know. And so
can you
it's
tell
like
us how? Like
ugh, I was just feeling all the weight of the world and I was just,
yeah,
it's like a righteous anger I think I was experiencing. Yeah, it was
you
just
discovered a gift of mercy, like, what was the situation?
so I basically went down to like 118 pounds. I
Mm.
don't know why. There's no possible reason. There's nothing medically, just out of nowhere, like got to 118 pounds. I remember having a panic attack, but I was very present and clear on what was happening, which helped me process it as, wow, this is a panic attack in the moment. But experienced, of course, God's absolutely comfort during that time, right? And had to work back what triggered it, and to even understand what triggered it is even why I speak the way I speak sometimes because it's just like the time is now.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
Here's my card that someone gave me because they know me. That's gangster peace. Okay, that's why I speak like that, because it's like that was like the time is now. Like it was a weight that I felt like I felt like I was gonna die, like if I didn't like unplug, if I didn't unplug like right now, like it would be over, you know what I mean? Because it was just so much. And so what I saw was, on the learning side was like, because I was like voicing like heavily on some things, you know what I mean? I was just like voicing heavily, like lamenting, that's how sometimes I feel like it is. It's like a lament, you know. I don't know how else to, I feel like I'm working on how to say these things. Like, we need to do this. Like, we got to change our thinking.
yeah.
So when I'm talking is like aggressive and,
Just
people take it certain type of ways, but
no, but
so as
I wanna just really
Mhm.
articulate it because,
Okay.
you know, when you say we need to change our thinking, is the
Mhm.
Nigerians, we need to change our thinking about the way we see African Americans.
Yes. So it's that, right? That's a part of it. You know what I mean? But it maybe in any other context, it might be like, like in the beginning I said kingdom thinking. I'm here to cultivate kingdom thinkers, right? So it's like recalibrating your mind to the truth, to the truth of the matter, to the root cause. Yeah, because I feel like when we get to the root cause, right, then that will help to now help you see different perspectives, you
Yeah.
know what I mean, of what it is, so that again we can work together. You know what I mean? Understand the beauty that we have united, working together on some things. So yeah, it comes from that. But I think during that time of really just lamenting and things would be people will be doing certain things or asking questions, and it was a time of really being able to really educate
What kind
people.
of
And
questions
so
are people asking?
um I can't get any like specific questions, but it was just kind of, when you're just having conversation about, maybe why they say those people, or conversations about, oh, especially like in the nursing, I think, field, there's a lot of clash of maybe African Americans thinking that Nigerians are taking over the workforce, so there's just different conversations that are
Okay.
yeah, they're happening. And so in those conversations, I try to infiltrate like some truths about some behaviors or mindsets or things, or anytime I get a chance to, I have these conversations, even with my husband. Like me and my husband, we are a complete clash. I just want to be clear. We are a complete clash in our mindsets about this. And, one of the things I tell him, so I can say it here, is because it's a level of ignorance.
Yeah.
There's just a level of ignorance that you just don't see. You have to learn over time. I had to learn to just be cool, because I will get real upset.
Yeah.
Like you said, like if you don't do the historical, research yourself, like, or just have the desire. It's not that you have to go as soon as you have the desire to, like, I do want to know, like, it's the empathic, feeling like, what is this person going through, or why are they like this? You know what I mean? You're taking that to God. He sees the desires of heart, and then he starts to help you to understand certain things, because once, if you understand this thing, you have a lot more compassion, you might not have the empathy part. You might not be able to feel the same thing, but you'll have a lot more compassion, because what's happening is happening in different places. It's happening on the continent too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
So because we have to really look at ourselves at the end of the day, we got to start looking at ourselves. Like, what are we doing? Our mindset. Is it actually the kingdom mindset? Is it coming? Are you of love?
Yeah.
Are you a love person first and foremost?
Yeah.
Because love doesn't have all of that.
Yeah. If I said to you this, that on this topic, I think what a lot of Nigerians carry is it's a casual arrogance of
Mm-hmm.
are better.
Yeah.
It's a casual arrogance of
Yeah.
our homes are better, our culture,
Yeah.
our families are better. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's deep.
It's a
But
casual
yeah.
arrogance. It just is.
Yeah.
It's a casual
Yeah.
arrogance that comes
Yeah.
from the privilege of being rooted in your culture. We
Absolutely.
do have that privilege of being rooted in
We do.
culture.
Yeah.
The fact that you can say peace, Udechukwu, and that's rooting for you. The fact that I can
Yeah.
Aramide, Kehinde from as a Yoruba woman, it is
Mhm.
so it's so deeply rooting that
Yeah.
my name means something, and that naming is a prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Of who I am and my value to the world, and I come from a people who do these things. That's
Yeah.
a privilege we have that we carry, and it in us, we have it and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Also mixed with a casual arrogance that creates
Absolutely.
so we're not like them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
privileged. They don't take African Americans aren't taking their opportunities here, whereas we suffer in Africa, you know.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that definitely exists. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it really does. I did want to go to the Africans, Americans towards Africans.
Oh, I mean, it's both ways. Let's be
Yeah.
real.
So
Like, I mean, hold up. Look. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like migrating here, I've been called African bus scratcher. You eat that
Mhm.
food. Did you live on trees? There's ignorance on both
Right.
sides. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's ignorance on both sides. I've been told to my face, I hate Africans. Someone has spat on the ground.
towards me on the floor. Oh, so it's both. It's both ways. So
Absolutely.
this episode is not a let's flog the Nigerians or let's flog the Africans
True.
episode,
True.
you know.
True.
But like,
Yeah.
just got to take the conversation from where you can take it.
Yeah. And just, it's like, change your thinking. When I think of when we think about repent, it's about changing your thinking.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Let me ask you
Yeah.
a question both ways, right? From
Hmm.
your lens, what beauty or brilliance have you seen in African American life that Nigerians completely miss?
Absolutely. They have this freedom, you know what I mean? Like, there's this freedom that they have in terms of their expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I value in them. You know what I mean? There's a free expression in them, which is why when we look at what we admire, right, is that trend setting, sort of spirit, that just they just produce in this creative way. But us as Africans also do the same thing too. You know what I mean? But I think that's where for me I started. Yeah,
We do the same thing. I do think a lot of times we do have some restrictions in our culture
of
where for us,
course.
sometimes some people's expression is not as free, not as bold,
Hmm.
not as honest as it can be just because of cultural
Yeah.
societal expectations, which I
Exactly.
look at, you know, African Americans, the friends I grew up with, that just wasn't on them, you know?
Exactly.
All right. Question vice versa. From your lens,
Okay.
what's the beauty that we have in Nigerian life? And obviously, Nigerian life is very diverse,
Very
but
diverse,
yeah,
yeah.
but what's the beauty we have that African Americans, if they don't reach out, can completely miss?
And I would say, just Nigerians and having the opportunity to also travel to a lot of other African, nations as well, right? So, but thinking about Nigeria, Nigerians are the frontline soldiers of Africa.
Mm, that's true.
We are the frontline soldiers of Africa, and that aspect of us is something that I see, that sets us apart. You know what I mean? Which is also why there's also need for unity there too. On so many aspects, right? That can really, help us to transform a
Yeah,
lot of things.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, that's
and
awesome.
so that's why bridging that gap is so huge because I mean we are everywhere.
Yeah,
We're soldiers everywhere.
yeah.
Yep.
Here's my last question for you.
Mhm.
I want you to think about the perfect world where Nigerians and African Americans are united. We see each other's beauty, we see each other's value. What does that look like in terms of maybe relationships, marriages, schools, business? Like, what does that look like for you?
What that looks like for me is one, going back to the earlier conversation, when you say you know your name, you know where you come from, there's a privilege that comes from that. One of the things that I um do too is some of my friends that I've gotten real close to that are African American and just giving them names, you know.
Ah, gosh. Do they like when you give them names, do they
Especially
adopt it? Do they like it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Awesome.
yeah.
Love that.
Yep.
I
Yep. I have a friend, her name is Serenity, and we
Yeah.
gave her the name Adeze.
Love
So she always says that she's so connected to the culture, like everything. And yeah, like I've just seen her blossom in so many great ways. But anyways, but yeah, so definitely giving names, but which helps, right? People who've also gone and done their ancestry. So we love that, that's how we also are known. Like, yeah, a lot of people, historically came from West Africa. Like,
yes. Yeah.
so definitely you're gonna be, somewhere in that area. So a lot of people are discovering, yeah, they're Nigerian and or Ghanaian, things like that. So there's just that aspect that's connecting people. There's the aspect of again being allies, right? An ally is saying, okay, yeah, we do need to be educated. So when you are now talking to other people, you begin to educate, right? Instead of, joining in the conversation, right? Try to educate and, kind of stand your ground because people you know, come with all types of, you know,
Ideas.
excuses and ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
But you just have to stay on the frequency of the kingdom, stay on the frequency of love and having the conversation. I have my organization, Pure Unity, which that's pretty much the focus, right, is bridging the gap, really helping people to understand the importance of mental health, because these systemic things that are in place that actually has led to this, we have to kind of dismantle that. It needs to be dismantled. So there's people that need to dismantle that, which I do part of that work, right, which is policy stuff. There's an aspect of us needing to pull together for people power, It's just people power. That's the true democracy, people power. But if we're coming together on some kingdom principles, because we have a lot of religions, but we have to get on kingdom principles, because these principles are endless. They don't change. It's ageless wisdom. We call it like the scientific laws. If you're on this frequency, it works. Like that principle of unity. That's why the Tower of Babel, he had to dismantle it, because they were just not on the right agenda. But if you're on the right agenda, there is nothing impossible.
Yeah.
Nothing, as I said, nothing impossible. So if we get on the same frequency, that people power is what's going to help us to like amazing things,
Yeah.
Especially even in the continent of Africa. So we need the diaspora to actually go to Africa and, begin to put your hands in the soil and do the work of transforming the mind too, by being love, but being it in wherever God calls you to be, wherever your sphere of influence. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're an engineer, if you're a singer,
Yeah.
you got to rewrite the history.
Yeah.
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 For the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the next generation, especially Nigerians, we have all these young people. If we believe that they're the frontline soldiers, we have to feed them with the right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because right now the mindset is array.
That's true. I think conversations like this plus actions is what helps.
Time is now, and this picture represents, again, I said my gangster side, because it's going to take a little gangster.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little gangster to really do what we need to do to unite. Let's just get to know our brothers and sisters as a brother and sister, as a human being.
What makes you tick?
Yeah.
What makes you
tick? Yep. That's my word.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you tick? What do you like? You know what I mean? Get to know them for who they are, their history, their story, their lineage. I always have to tell them, I'm, Nigerian, and I say you're African too. Like, you come from the continent, and just try to educate them, a little bit more, just to know that that's their lineage. Africa's a big continent. You know what I mean? Where in Africa are you talking about? So small things like that to, again, reorient and re-educate, reprogram, and that's how, a way to just do it on an everyday basis when you're interacting with each other versus, taking the stereotypes out.
Yeah.
If you don't like it and you think you do it, then maybe you got to, switch it up, do a switcheroo. Or no, we code switch, right? So you can code switch. Maybe when you're in the house and you want to get crump.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a little crump. There's nothing wrong with that. Crumping is our dancing style, right? Or if you, in Africa and we do our Udechuckwu, right? Udechuckwu is the same thing as what we call twerking a little bit, right? Yeah. Our Udechuckwu is twerking. We do a little Udechuckwu. If I bust out Udechuckwu right now, what would you say? What would you say? So
it is what it is. It's the culture. Yeah.
It's the culture, exactly. So we're dramatic people, and it's great.
We're celebratory. Right?
Yep, and that's what we were created for.
Absolutely. Well, Peace, I want to thank you. Thank you for this time, and thank you for sharing your story in light of this conversation. It's been really invaluable, and I think there's some really meaningful nuggets dropped as well. Can you share a little bit more about how, if people want to reach out to you, like how can they learn more about your work, and even if they want to partner with you, where can they find you?
I do have a YouTube channel that I'm starting that's called The Peace Experience.
Okay.
It is launched, but I just have one video that's on there that's like an introduction that...
The start.
It's a start. Yeah, so I do have that. So The Peace Experience. And then, you can find me on Instagram at The Moral Philosopher. And also Facebook, I think. Facebook is just my name. So I'm going to get all of that synced, I guess, to make it more easier. But that's what it is now.
This is good. Thank you so much, Peace. Dear Nigerians, this has been an episode for you. For Dear Nigerians, you're Black too. And we'll see you again another time.